anyway, I told her that there wasn't anything we could do for her until it was plotted.
First to the podium, if you press that button right above the name pile, it'll turn on a green light so that Mike will be ready. Thank you.
Not now.
Whenever now. We'll call you. Okay.
Everything's ready, Ken.
Okay, we recording? All right. I'm going to call this special meeting of the City of Holiday Island City Council. It's I'm calling the meeting to order. It's April 28th, 2022 at 3 p.m. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, come on. Roll call.
Councilmember Pittman.
Here.
Councilmember Mills.
Here.
Councilmember Graves.
Here.
Councilmember Elwood.
Here.
Councilmember Dumas.
Here.
All present, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'll declare a quorum. Moving on to approving the agenda. After the agenda was published, Lynn pointed out to me that the Arkansas Code 8-6-211, I believe.
4216, I don't know.
Yeah, requires that the rate structure, which is included in the contract that we're going to cover today, needs to be approved by ordinance. So what we will be presenting today is Ordinance 2022-009, which basically authorizes approving the contract and establishing the rates. So that's a slight change to the agenda. Any other comments, questions, issues with the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Lynn made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Linda seconded it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. You have no minutes for this meeting. Any ceremonials, recognitions, proclamations, or in memoriams? I put the Arbor Day proclamation as the first item on the agenda, but we might as well do it right now because it's a proclamation.
Is this the one we didn't get done last year, or?
Well, it was just a little late, and then, but yes.
We did eventually do it.
So I think Donna and I will go up to the podium there, and I can read the proclamation, and Donna can give you a little bit of, or Donna and her guests, she might want to introduce her guests.
We're for moral support.
Moral support.
Nice.
All right, this proclamation is called Celebrate Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, James J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, I think maybe half of them are still there, but and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, now therefore I, Dan Keyes, Mayor of the City of Holiday Island, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Holiday Island. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated the 28th day of April, 2022, by Mayor Dan Keyes.
Thank you,
No.
Dan. And I'm Donna Grimes, and I'm chairman of the Tree City for Holiday Island, and this year is the 150th anniversary of Arbor Day, and we're celebrating that. We will be planting a tree in to commemorate at the community garden, a fruit tree, and we follow the regulations and reports, and this will be our 16th year at Holiday Island as a Tree City, USA. Thank you.
Are you going to introduce your team?
Oh yeah, our team, well, we're all out there working at sustainable gardening, and we were working with the high school. We make our presence, so we're a community liaison team for yeah, and sustainable gardening. And so Fred Mayer
Hello.
and Alan Miller.
All right.
Hey Donna, I've got
Thank
about
you.
4 trees that need to come down. Can you do anything about that? Can you get somebody over to cut them down? Because they really need to come down. 4, there's about 4.
Well, what we do work with the golf course and other, the city actually, and we do a report how many trees are planted and how many are removed. And
But we don't take trees down. That's not something we do.
Well, I might get something free on Holiday Island.
thank you.
I already took that
I
too.
got a question for Donna.
Yes.
I can't remember what it was. Just when this came up, I said, you know, I used to get a magazine from the Arbor Day, you know, over there in
Nebraska.
you know, whatever, I can't remember the name of the farm.
Yeah, I'm a member.
And it was always very interesting. It was about an 8-page or, and I just now remembered, I've not been getting it.
You probably quit sending them money.
That's right. See, I do send them some money, and I do get some publications.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So,
need to know what that is, because I enjoyed getting it, and I just don't.
well, Ken, let me check on that and get it to you.
Okay.
I'm sure that it's the Arbor Day Foundation, so if you
Yes.
just Google Arbor Day Foundation.
Well, I'm not sure, you know, that,
In Nebraska.
they never sent me, I never had paid it.
Well, unfortunately, over the last few years, I think we've taken a lot more trees down in Holiday Island because of storms and disease and things like that than what we've planted, so this is a good initiative. What kind of fruit tree is it gonna be?
Well, I'm thinking apple, but I do have a source on Hudson Street in Rogers, which I plan to go there on Tuesday and get something.
Okay.
Have to see it first. Yeah, they have a large variety though.
Yeah.
So I want to be sure that I'm getting the right tree for all.
Deer love apples.
Well, that's why it's going to be fenced.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is ordinance number 2022-007. The City of Holiday Island, Carroll County, Arkansas, an ordinance adopting and establishing a nuisance abatement and property maintenance regulation for the City of Holiday Island, Arkansas, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-007.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 2022-007.
Ken made a motion, Jerry seconded it. Now,
Okay, there it is.
we'll read the ordinance, we're not gonna read, I suppose maybe, read it, well, read the ordinance and not the full exhibit A. You wanna make a motion to read the ordinance only and not all of the exhibit
I'll
A?
move that we read the ordinance only for ordinance 2022-007 and not the attachment.
Second.
Okay, Linda made the motion to read to read the ordinance only and not exhibit A, and Lynn seconded it. Any discussion on that motion? I think we can just do we need a roll call vote on that? Roll call vote. Since it's an
Okay.
ordinance.
Councilmember Dumas.
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood.
Aye.
Councilmember Graves.
Aye.
Councilmember Mills.
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Mr. Mayor?
Okay. Do you want to read it, or you want me to
I
read it?
can.
Just the first 2 pages then.
Okay. Do I need to repeat the title?
Nah, you might as well.
Okay. Ordinance number 2022-007. City of Holiday Island, Carroll County, Arkansas. An ordinance adopting and establishing a nuisance abatement and property maintenance regulations for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. Whereas reasonable and enforceable regulations of nuisance abatement are necessary in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of property owners and citizens, and such regulations further enhance the value of the properties so regulated. And whereas Arkansas Code annotated 1454-901 empowers cities to order the owners of lots and other real property to cut weeds, remove garbage, rubbish, and other unsightly and unsanitary articles and things upon the property, as well as to take other measures stated therein and thereafter. And whereas Arkansas Code annotated 1456-203 empowers cities to order the removal or raising of buildings or houses that are, in the opinion of the city council, have become dilapidated, unsightly, unsafe, unsanitary, obnoxious, or are detrimental to the public welfare. And whereas the city council of the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, find it necessary to adopt reasonable regulations in order to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of property owners and citizens. And whereas the city council of the city of Holiday Island further finds that it is in the best interest of the city of the citizens of the city of Holiday Island that these abatement regulations are enacted. Now therefore be it enacted by the city council of the city of Holiday Island, section 1, nuisance abatement and property maintenance regulations attached hereto as exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference are hereby adopted. Section 2, that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of the conflict. Section 3, that the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable, and if any any section, phrase, or provision shall be declared or held invalid. Such invalidity shall not affect the remainder of the sections, phrases, or provisions. Section 4, Emergency Clause. The City Council hereby determines that this ordinance is necessary for the abatement of existing nuisances within the city of Holiday Island. Therefore, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance being immediately necessary for the preservation and protection of the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of the city and its citizens shall become effective on the day set forth herein and above. If the ordinance is neither approved nor vetoed by the mayor, it shall become effective on the expiration of the period of time during which the mayor may veto the ordinance enacting this ordinance. If the ordinance is vetoed by the mayor and the veto is overridden by the city council, it shall become effective on the date the city council overrides the veto. Passed and approved this 28th day of April 2022.
Okay, for the record, Exhibit A, as stated in the ordinance, is contains all of the regulations, and they will be posted on the website and at our 5 identified posting locations along with the ordinance, if and when it's passed today. I'll now open the floor to discussion or comments from council members. Any comments?
Just one, point that you mentioned that will be, that the ordinance and the, exhibit are already on our website, if anybody at home wants to look at them.
Okay, good.
Do we not have to do this special for the emergency fund?
After we pass the ordinance, then we'll make another motion on the emergency clause. Any other discussion?
What, my input?
Yeah.
Okay, in the ordinance itself, in the title, it says an ordinance adopting and establishing a nuisance abatement and property maintenance regulations. Shouldn't it, the A and the plural property maintenance regulations don't go together? It should just say establishing nuisance abatement and property maintenance regulations without any A.
Where are you reading
The
that?
title,
In the title.
right at the top.
Top line.
Ordinance adopting and establishing a nuisance abatement and property maintenance regulation.
Oh, I just
Take
take
out
out
the
the
A.
A, is what she meant, just take out the A.
Oh.
I had a school teacher like that once too.
Okay,
Okay, in the third whereas,
1, 2, 3.
it says empowers cities to order to removal, it should be the removal.
okay,
Under, now therefore being enacted, section 4, emergency clause, I'm concerned about 4 lines down where it says become effective on the day set forth herein above. There is no day set forth herein above.
I think isn't that just a legal term that means this document?
Well, there isn't a day, there isn't any date above that line.
Well,
herein would be in this document, and it's at the bottom when it's approved.
Yeah.
If it said herein
I
without
think
the
it just
above,
means,
it'd
it should
okay.
be, it should be herein.
Just herein.
we'll scratch the above.
Yeah, scratch the above.
Yeah, so that's
I
what
had it
I,
underlined, but I don't know what the other meant.
Okay.
I just
Also-
figured that's the way lawyers talk.
it is.
That's what
Well-
it's all legal.
Or you
It
could
kinda
put
needs to
herein,
make sense too.
herein below.
Now, also, because it says shall become effective on the date set forth herein, which I assume would be the date it's signed and approved. There are some licensing provisions of businesses on page 15 of the attachment. And we're not gonna have any ability to license tomorrow.
No.
So,
Well, the process
I mean,
starts again. I
We
mean,
kinda had this discussion on the last ordinance we passed.
yeah,
It's, there's always going to be an implementation period,
okay, okay.
I just don't see any way of avoiding that, of having all the ducks in a row in anticipation of something getting passed.
So I guess then just some sections will be unenforceable until we have all the parameters of
Right.
the regulations.
Like when we passed the trash ordinance and it says that the city will have bag tags. Well, we don't have any bag tags yet, but we will,
But
in time, we will get
We didn't put the date
them.
out on that one though, so.
Yeah,
That's other duties.
and the
assigned.
start date of acting on all of this is basically the date it's signed, so it takes time.
Have a-
You wanna go?
I just had a question on page 5, third judicial, is that the one that's the one we're trying to be part of in Eureka? I can't remember the number.
What do you,
You're on page.
Third judicial.
Page 5, up at the top, the third, and it talks about, sworn of the city county and issues must comply, the third judicial district court.
Yeah.
That is the number for, I just couldn't remember.
I had, at the top of page 3, where it says, it gives the second annotation of the Arkansas Code, about midway in the paragraph. That 1454-901 doesn't set forth anything about what it says there. I think it might be 903.
The et sec means and following,
Oh, and following,
That's okay.
okay.
so it includes all the 900s.
It will include all the 900, thank you for pointing that out.
Okay.
Okay, that should be okay.
when
We
do
asked
we
a
have a
question.
law degree by the time we're done?
We have an audience member.
Well, let me see if the council members are done with their comments.
Okay, the top of page 4, next to last line of the top paragraph, where it says, City of Holiday Island pursuant to a contact should be contract.
Oh, how did you see those then?
I saw it, but I forgot.
Further down in the middle of that page, the paragraph that starts, nothing in these regulations, and lists 4 items. That line, nothing in these regulations shall be construed as requiring the city to enforce these regulations against. I would take out the regulations in at the end of that line, because it's completely redundant to the sentence. Just go with, to enforce these regulations against.
Okay.
In the last paragraph, there is a underline between inspections and required in the first line of the last paragraph. An underscore between inspections and required that needs to come out.
Where was that?
I don't see that.
Last paragraph, first sentence,
Last paragraph.
Which page?
Oh.
page 5. See it, Amy?
My eyes aren't even good enough to see that.
Page 15.
Okay, but, repeat that one.
There's an
Page
underscore
5,
between two words,
page 5.
between inspections required.
It's hard to-
Next,
Okay, this is on page 15, the last paragraph on the page.
Space.
So the middle sentence, it says, by the city for servicing and repair of subject items and properly zoned, I believe there's an and missing from zoned and operated. And under, the list of items on page 17 at the bottom of the page, these are just general other nuisances for section 17 on this page.
mhm.
And it lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and over on the other page, there's 13, 14, 15, 16 items listed. And number 5 says, this is the only place noise is addressed. Item 5, all unnecessary or unauthorized noises and annoying vibrations. Don't we need more on noise in this nuisance
Yeah,
abatement?
That's the point I was gonna bring up too, is with,
I mean, this is so vague, it's totally unenforceable. You know, an
Or maybe-
unauthorized
Maybe
noise.
that's what makes it enforceable.
Well,
Because,
no,
No, it
you
says
got-
unauthorized noise. What's authorized?
Authorized.
You don't have anything authorized.
You have to be authorized.
we're gonna have music at the farmhouse up here.
Yeah, he's very concerned, you know. about
Yeah,
that.
and he's asked about it, about, do we have noise ordinance? No, we haven't gotten to that point. He said, I wanna comply, but I need to know. And so, at the very least, we need to, at some point soon, set hours and,
Yeah, I'm not looking to over-restrict anything.
No.
I just wanna set some logical, reasonable rules.
yeah, absolutely, just, 10 o'clock on weeknights, 11 o'clock or midnight on weekends.
well,
Well, and then you're gonna set a decibel limit too, or
Well, yeah, you have to.
Might be.
what are we gonna do about our fireworks next year?
Well, there can be exceptions.
That's part of the authorization for whatever event or schedule or
Special events
whatever.
have to be authorized.
There's nothing
let me make a suggestion here. We're not gonna come up with something to pencil in here today that's gonna fix that. And it would be my recommendation that we not table this ordinance until we
I'm
come
not
up
asking
with
for
that.
that,
That's
Dan,
fine.
but it's something we need to
Yeah,
think
so
about pretty
if
quickly.
someone wants to research noise abatement, ordinances, what other cities are doing, we can always pass another
We're gonna
ordinance.
volunteer to do
Yeah,
that.
volunteer.
Then we can just leave it vague for now.
Good, I just wanted to make sure we had it on the table, kinda like Jerry said.
It's, I don't want to downplay the importance of it, but, Eureka Springs has a sign at their city limits that says noise ordinance strictly enforced. And if you're sitting at a show at the Odd, all you hear is motorcycles going by. So there's no strictly enforced to it whatsoever.
Well,
So if if you make it, you better intend to enforce it if you're gonna put it in the ordinance.
Yeah.
well, there are certain things you can do to mitigate. I mean, you can't control traffic coming through unless they've got illegal mufflers and what all, and then that's a whole different thing. But, there are ways of, the way the stage should be angled to where it's not directed into a residential area. The hours are big, a big thing. And,
But ultimately, it could be measured by decibels.
It typically is.
yeah,
Decibel rating a certain distance away is what I've been I've seen. And when I read number 5, it's my chainsaw, my table saw, and my router at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's an unnecessary noise in somebody else's mind. But, you know, that's what I need to do to finish my project.
Might be necessary for you who
Right.
can't sleep.
You're gonna be the first one fine.
Probably.
Right, so we'll make a note in the minutes that, that Jerry is gonna follow up and make a recommendation on,
Supplemental noise, something.
right, that
Well,
will
that'd be
amend
a-
the ordinance at some future date.
We'll pass an amending ordinance to change this one.
Right.
Okay. All right.
That it, Linda?
No, I wanna talk about burning concessions in section 22,
Burning, what page?
page 20.
I got you.
In the paragraph that talks about prior to lighting a fire, it's the responsibility of the property owner to notice the fire department, to notify the fire department. I believe we need to add to that at least a sentence that says the fire department must maintain a record of permissions granted.
I think they do.
Well, I wanna make sure they do.
I think
Does
when I,
anybody object to that?
no, I think when I called him yesterday, he probably made his log entry. He logs the calls, yeah. But I don't know that he does, yeah.
I think that's a safety precaution.
Yeah, I think they do, based on what, when I call,
Because
the
otherwise
nearby,
you're gonna get into a hearsay thing.
yeah.
If someone causes a fire.
I mean, I called, it was dark, wind was blowing, and my deck was getting covered by ashes from someone burning it down the street. Yeah. And they came and checked it out and said they'd make a note of it.
I think it's good to have a log entered, because if it didn't get logged, it didn't happen, that kind of thing.
You can't prove it.
Right.
If
The
you
permission
look at
wasn't
that,
granted.
if you'll look at that report that the chief puts out, it lists all sorts of
Sure.
non-emergency calls and things, so.
So I penciled in here this statement. The fire department must log permissions granted.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Has the chief reviewed these
Yeah,
items on here?
yeah, he said he didn't have any problem with it.
The other thing I was concerned about were the small piles of at least 25 feet from any homes or other type of buildings. The piles must be placed in the center of a clear area. And my question was, what is the definition of clear? That's unclear to me.
It normally means
You
no
don't want
over.
it, you wouldn't want it on dry grass, would you?
I don't know that we can define.
Let's say there's no structure for, you know,
Nazi Germany?
and what's the diameter supposed to
Yeah, I
be of
said
the
it.
clear area?
25 feet
No, it's
Well,
25 feet from any structure.
from the structure, okay.
Yeah. It doesn't say the diameter of the clear area, or how big the pile should be. You know, how many feet in diameter should the pile be, and how many feet should the clear area be? How high should the pile be? Some cities, I've looked up some ordinances, some cities define that.
Well, what can they do with it? I mean, no one's gonna run around with a tape measure.
No,
Yeah.
you can visually say, well, that's obviously over the limit. You know? So otherwise, you might have a 25-foot area of brush being burned.
I would assume
There's
that
not a
the
problem
area
with
was
that.
25 feet from the building.
No, you couldn't have a 25-foot area being burned, because then it wouldn't be 25 feet from the house.
The edge of it could be, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The edge of it could be. How big is the bonfire?
Well,
I don't know, if nobody's else concerned about it, I'll move on, but.
Mayor, can you gavel it where I can hear, it's in the chatter in the gallery?
Please.
Are we gonna be allowed to ask questions, yes or no?
What?
Are we going to be allowed to ask?
Yes,
questions?
after the council is done making their comments, I'll open the floor up for the comment.
Okay, I just have to be somewhere.
That's kind of the way we we always do it.
Well,
So,
I'm not part of this, so I
Right.
don't know.
let's finish our discussion here.
I don't know, I don't think it's that big of a problem until, it may be something we have to address more in detail later, but for now, we just need to get something.
A question that I had is that this doesn't talk about structures, it talks about homes and buildings. Shouldn't it just say other structures, like
Any
we
other types of
define
buildings.
structures?
You're right, it says
Beginning.
homes and buildings, it
Okay.
doesn't say structures.
When they say structure.
Good point.
So it could be right up against.
Next year accessory shed.
Yeah,
Well, that,
that would be a building maybe,
That would be a building.
but it could be next to fences,
Wouldn't be.
electric transformers, bed mount, or your junction boxes for phone and cable and that sort of thing. It would seem to me, why don't we just say structures?
Mayor, in your discussions with the chief, did you get any sense of what criteria he uses to grant permission?
What's that?
I was asking Dan.
No. I didn't ask him.
I mean, I would think
But
he would.
even today, you're supposed to call the fire department if you're going to burn something, so. Whatever, I guess I didn't really think that it was reinventing the wheel here.
When I asked for permission yesterday, I sent him a photograph of my pile before I started it. That way you knew it wasn't half a lot of timber been cleared. Maybe we handle this one like the other one we just did, that if we find something that would be more descriptive, we can bring it forward for consideration to
Or
revise it.
something causes an issue down the road.
Yeah. I know you can't always depend on common sense, but I think any ordinance we pass is going to suppose a certain degree of common sense in people. Is that it?
That's it.
So I scratched homes or any other type building, and I replaced that with structure.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Any other comments from council members?
So it's any homes or other structures.
No,
Just scratch homes and other structures and just put in other buildings and just put in structures. Okay, now I'll open the floor to the public for comment. And for the record, state your name.
She's got a
For
whole
the
list.
minutes.
Hi, I'm Susan Rizzo.
Hello, council. I have a couple questions. Mr. Keys, do you sit on the board of Carroll County Solid Waste?
Yes,
Will the city be receiving a kickback or a return for the contract?
we're not here talk.
But that's my question, I'm here now, so it's a simple yes or no.
It's not.
Whatever your comments are at this point need to be relative to the ordinance we're passing, which has nothing to do with the Carroll County contract.
So you refuse to answer the question yes or no?
When we get to that point in the agenda, I will answer your questions.
Okay.
Right now, do you have a question or a comment
I
about
do have a comment on
ordinance
some of these.
2022-007?
Absolutely do. I feel that the fire department is gonna be burdened when it comes fall time and all of our residents are burning leaves. You expect residents to call the fire department to ask if they can burn their leaves?
That's the way it's supposed to be done right now.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what about bonfires? What if I have a party on my 1.5 acres of cleared land and I wanna have a bonfire? I have to call to ask for a bonfire? No.
If it's in the city limits.
think you have to do it now.
Well, history.
Exactly. Well, I think that our city council here is overreaching and making rules that really don't apply to what it's like living on Holiday Island at this point.
Used to be living on Holiday Island.
So I don't feel that you're making ordinances that people are going to follow because they're asinine. Some of these ordinances, such as calling our understaffed fire department for permission to have a bonfire, that's ridiculous.
One of the reasons that people have been calling, and for years and years are supposed to call just based on the HICID rules, but you're supposed to call the fire department, is so when someone reports smoke, they know where it's coming from, and they can say, oh, don't worry about that because they're just burning leaves, or that we've approved this or that or the other.
I understand that, but most of the time when somebody
But
sees
when
smoke,
people see smoke, they're gonna call the fire department.
most of the time they look outside their window and they see their neighbor burning a pile of leaves and they don't call the fire
Because of
department.
the trees, you can't see where it's coming from.
Well, I have no neighbors, really. So if I need to burn some leaves or burn a portion of a tree that is fell down, and I need to do it when it's not windy, and I need to do it safely, and I put my hose out next to my fire, there shouldn't be a problem with that.
Regulations aren't normally created for the people that are law-abiding and do things the right way. They're created to prevent problems from happening from people who don't think about other people.
Well, I really feel that the city is a little bit overreaching in its infancy as a city, and they should be focusing more on things that are actually going to improve life on Holiday Island. And I'm looking forward to seeing if we can't turn it around here soon. When will you be taking comments about the trash services? At the end?
When we get to approving the contract for
Okay.
Carroll
Susan,
County.
here's an agenda if you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You finished, Susan?
Right, any other public comments?
Trash burning.
Jan Wills, I live on Mission Hills. What about if we want to have a cookout? Do we have to inform the fire department for that? Sorry? Would it mean if we wanted to cook 50 burgers as opposed to 5, would we have to get permission?
I didn't hear that second.
If we wanted to have a barbecue and we wanted to cook 50 burgers instead of 5, would we have to get permission from the fire department? Oh, okay. Even though we'll probably be cooking on a wooden deck with trees overhead, which to me is more dangerous than leaves burning.
That's between you and your insurance company.
Okay.
If you wanna start a fire on your wooden deck, I'd call my insurance company.
Well, I won't be starting a fire on my wooden deck, hopefully, if I'm just barbecuing, just like I won't be starting a fire if I'm burning some leaves in front, because I'm an adult, I'm not 5. I know what to do, and I know how to burn leaves. Thank you. Oh, and also, I was wondering, even though that's a different point. I won't burden you with something else to think about.
Okay, so are there any other comments? Then I think we can move to a vote on the ordinance with the changes noted. Roll call vote.
Okay. Councilmember Dumas.
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood.
Aye.
Councilmember Graves.
Aye.
Councilmember Mills.
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, ordinance 2022-007 is passed, and we'll make the changes that we noted before we put the signed copies up. The next thing on the agenda is Consideration of ordinance number 2022
Emergency clause.
Oh, you're right. The ordinance number 2022-007 contains an emergency clause, so I'll need a motion to approve the emergency clause.
I move that we approve the emergency clause for this ordinance.
Second.
Lynn made a motion to approve the emergency clause. Jerry seconded it. Any discussion? We'll move on to a vote then, roll call
Okay, Councilmember Pittman,
Aye.
Councilmember Mills,
Aye.
Councilmember Graves,
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood,
Aye.
Councilmember Dumas.
Aye.
All in favor, Mr. Mayor?
vote. Okay. Just looking at ordinance 2022-009 should have contained an emergency clause also.
I think you have a paragraph at the end, it doesn't give it a section, but if you said and since the ordinance.
All right, so we do have it in there. All right, so we're gonna move on to, ordinance number 2022-009. An ordinance approving a contract and rate structure for solid waste collection for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to pass the ordinance?
So move.
Lynn made a motion to accept the ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who made that, Jerry? Jerry made, seconded the motion. Just like we, did on the prior one, I'll entertain a motion to read the ordinance only and not the entirety of the contract, which is Exhibit A. Pat made a motion to read the ordinance only.
I'll second.
Lynn seconded it. Any discussion? Roll call vote on that.
Okay, Councilmember Dumas,
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood,
Aye.
Councilmember Graves,
Aye.
Councilmember Mills,
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, so we'll now read, if you would, read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2022-009. An ordinance approving a contract and rate structure for solid waste collection for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. Whereas Arkansas Code annotated ACA 8-6-211 states that one, the governing body of the municipality shall have the authority to levy and collect such fees and charges and require such licenses as may be appropriate to discharge its responsibility under this subchapter. And the fees, charges, and licenses shall be based on a fee schedule as set forth in an ordinance. And whereas the city of Holiday Island Ordinance 2022-004 has established the Carroll County Solid Waste District as the sole authorized solid waste hauler in Holiday Island, and whereas the rate structure for trash collection in Holiday Island is included as Exhibit A in the interlocal agreement between the city of Holiday Island and the Carroll County Solid Waste District, now be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Holiday Island, Arkansas, that the attached interlocal agreement between the City of Holiday Island and the Carroll County Solid Waste District be approved and adopted. And since in conformance with Ordinance 2022-004, customers are currently transitioning to the Carroll County Solid Waste District, and the transition period ending 9/1/2022 has begun. An emergency is declared to exist and this ordinance shall become effective upon passage. Passed and approved by the City Council of Holiday Island, Arkansas, on this date of 4/28/2022.
Okay, for the record, I said this in the last meeting when we approved the trash contract. I do sit on the board of the Carroll County Solid Waste District, as do all of the mayors of the cities in Carroll County. And as such, there could be a perceived conflict of interest in negotiating the contract, and that's why I asked Ken Mills to actually negotiate the rate structure. The contract itself was basically developed by Carroll County Solid Waste. The rate structure was negotiated by a council member. I received no kickbacks, no remuneration, no pay. I serve as a volunteer on the Carroll County Solid Waste District Board. I serve as a volunteer mayor to the city of Holiday Island. I have no personal incentive, one way or another, in addressing this issue, and it's up to the city council to decide whether or not they accept or pass this ordinance adopting this contract. I'll now open the floor up to discussion from council members. Any discussion?
You had a meeting today with the solid waste board, correct?
We had a meeting today and the solid waste board approved the contract, and I abstained from the vote. They didn't need my vote for a quorum, and so I abstained in the voting.
So the contract includes the rates, they reviewed those and approved that?
Right.
Thank you.
And for the record, isn't it true that every other mayor of every city participates in the district's collection of trash for their city, also sits on the board?
And is directly involved in determining what the rates are for their city.
Do we know what the rates
Any other discussion?
Yes.
How much are they?
Ken, wait, go, sit down. Please, please
Thank
sit
you.
down. When
When
I'm done talking with the,
Look, he offered me a piece of paper, I did not want to be rude, I went over to him to take it, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to keep order in the meeting here.
Well,
don't-
look, there's two of us, I mean, what order do you need to keep, really? Two women, stop!
Be quiet.
Just stop that.
Be-
You're a mayor of Holiday Island, not Chicago or New York. At your bloody age. You work for us. You work for me, you work for the rest of the people on Holiday Island. And you're a tyrant, Dan Keys, and you know it. When you was first elected mayor, you said you wanted to
taking a
unite people.
We're gonna
You're not doing it.
We're gonna recess this meeting.
Fine,
We're gonna
because
recess
nothing
the
ever
meeting.
changes because you're all bloody corrupt.
We'll reconvene.
And
in
Carroll
5
County
minutes.
will not take my trash, so what do I do then? I had them in the beginning, and I broke my leg and couldn't get my trash up to the end, where you have to walk 4 or 5. They let it sit for 5 weeks.
Okay, we're gonna reconvene the meeting. You had some questions?
Mr. Keys, I have a few questions, please. So it has been established that you sit on the board of Carroll County Solid Waste,
Correct.
and did you sit on this board of Carroll County Solid Waste before you were a mayor?
No.
When did you officially sit?
When we incorporated as a city, because all of the mayors of all of the mayors of Carroll County sit on the board.
Mr. Keys, will the city be receiving a kickback or other form of money coming back into the city from the Carroll County trash collection contract?
Am I getting any?
No, I
It's the
didn't, the
city.
city.
It's the city, no,
Zero.
no.
Nobody is.
There's not gonna be any return money coming to Carroll County, coming to Holiday Island.
There's no franchise fee.
Okay.
The franchise fee would just be added to the bill, so
So there will not be.
there will not be.
And I noticed that the average cost of service here is significantly higher than my bill. Now, how is, we have a population here of folk who struggle to pay their bills. And
the rates?
yes, these rates are $10, up to $10 higher than Osage,
Yeah, 20.
from Moar. How is that gonna be addressed to the people?
How's that possible?
Well, I'm sorry, I have my bill with me and I
I
use
pay
Moar.
20 a month with Osage.
How much do you pay out of curiosity? 'Cause
I pay $22.57 per month.
I pay 20 with Osage.
And Bill there, what do you have? What
Well,
kind-
it's looking here like it's gonna be at least 23, and then with tax makes it 24.
16.
That's for bags. I'm talking about a big container.
Here's the container,
Uh-huh,
2408.
2408. And my container is 2 cubic yards bigger and I pay less.
2 cubic yards.
Or two feet bigger, rather, 2 feet bigger, so that's 8, let's say it's,
It's gallons, how many gallon containers?
I have a big one, so,
Anyway.
2 cubic yards would be a dumpster.
all right.
That's about
I
400
pay for
gallons.
What?
2 cubic yards is about 400 gallons.
Right, I might be off on my cubics here. So I pay $22.50 per month for a larger container than the large container, roll container. So I'm gonna take an increase of whatever, a few dollars, but there are a lot of people that those few dollars really do matter to, that live here. You're causing people to have a problem paying their bills now. And you're putting small business out of business.
Osage is gonna lose his livelihood. Are you happy
Yes.
with that?
Okay.
So you can go with a big company who don't really need our money.
So I don't think that, I feel like it is important for everyone to have trash service here. It is important. But if I already have an established trash service, and I didn't have good customer service or service at my home with Carroll County, which is what I first used when I came here. They missed me regularly.
This was all discussed.
I know it was, but
When we
I,
passed the first
Doesn't matter, we
ordinance.
still have.
It doesn't matter.
concerns, and we're paying
the
money to
overreach
live
here is out of hand. I do feel that there's a conflict of interest because you sit on a board. And I think that there's gonna be enough people here that are very upset about this. 40% of your population here does not use Carroll County. The overreach here is gonna cause the city a problem.
It's gonna be, yeah.
Perhaps a better way to look at this is to show when you move here and you turn on your water, that you show you have service by showing who you're contracted with. That would be a little bit better.
There's provision in the contract that there's a problem with service.
Who's gonna take care of it?
What does it say?
I don't know what your question is.
I didn't know.
If the service is not, if they got a problem with the service of Carroll County Solid Waste, then
You call me.
right.
Well, I have a problem with them. They keep missing me. I had to cancel them. I wanted them, but they kept missing me.
They didn't pick
So-
my trash up for 5
And they
weeks.
have that problem. So what are you gonna do then? Is everybody gonna call Mr. Keys to figure it out?
We'll take care of it.
Okay. Well, I still think that there's a conflict of interest here, and I think it's a little bit of an overreach, and I think that you're gonna find a bunch of citizens are gonna band together, and they're gonna fight some of these ordinances and interesting things that you're
One thing
passing
you
here.
don't
Goodbye.
understand,
I understand more than you think.
You don't understand
Goodbye.
conflict.
Wait a minute.
Let's go. No, I'm not leaving.
I just was trying to tell you something.
No.
Let him say his
Okay,
piece.
Go on. Okay.
That's more of those.
Black Lives Matter, look at you bunch, you should be
Oh,
ashamed.
shut up.
am, I'm starting to hate Englishmen.
That's all, calm down.
I'm Irish, we've always hated Englishmen, they tried to kill us all.
Well, hell, I am one.
We're off the
We're
record.
on the record here.
Okay, that was all part of OC.
Okay. So much for that constructive session.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment?
No.
I think the public comment section, and even for us, when we make our council member, we need to be allowed to speak until we're done. And as far as public comments, we can acknowledge, thank you for your comments, we'll take them under consideration. And the question and answers may be difficult to ignore, but just let them have their piece. And none of us should be interacting, I don't believe, other than the mayor, unless the mayor directs one of us to answer their questions. I think that's the right way to do it.
Well, this lady was completely out of hand. I couldn't hear. And she kept calling us Nazis,
I know.
kept inappropriate muttering.
And she wasn't at the podium. She should
She
have
was
been.
never came to the podium.
Well, we,
You know, and we've had workshops on this,
I know.
and they show up at the very last minute.
Well,
let's move on to voting on the ordinance.
yeah, let's do that.
At some point, there's always going to be disgruntled citizens. We just have to deal with it as best we can. Is there any more discussion on the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, I sent a comment to you, and you said that it would be changed down in section 4. Is that incorporated in the documents that you're going to sign?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I made the changes on
Okay.
this.
For the benefit of the folks, I just, let's see.
There were 2 changes.
Yeah. In section 4, the first paragraph ends with the sentence, customers may choose from among 2 alternative styles of service. I just suggest we change to among the services or something, the applicable service, because there's more than 2. And then down in the 65, 95 gallon, I took out the words 95 gallon cart. So it's just the contractor provides a poly cart for collection each week.
Okay, can we move on to the vote then? Roll call
Okay,
Whoa. What is the ad about alternative services?
vote. It's just that it said they can select from 2 options when there's more than 2 options.
Not providers, but the services provided.
No,
Right.
just options.
Okay, my bad.
Okay,
you ready?
ready
Okay.
for the roll call
Councilmember Dumas,
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood,
Aye.
Councilmember Graves,
Aye.
Councilmember Mills,
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Mr. Mayor?
vote. Okay, the ordinance passes. There is an emergency clause, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the emergency clause.
Make a motion, we approve the emergency clause.
Ken made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the emergency clause?
That was by Jerry.
Gary, yeah.
Okay,
Roll call
Councilmember Dumas,
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood,
Aye.
Councilmember Graves,
Aye.
Councilmember Mills,
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Mr. Mayor?
vote. Okay. Then that ordinance passes, and, these copies can be signed because Linda didn't have a bunch of typos to correct.
Did you pick up?
Was there any changes on Lynn and?
No, I already made them on these copies.
Okay,
So you got one copy, and that's the second copy of the original. Did you? Okay, just for the record, there was a issue, I think I might have brought this up in the last meeting already. There was a question about whether the water meter addresses, names and addresses was public information or private information relative to FOIA. And the legal advice I got was that it is private information relative to the general public being able to request it through FOIA. However, it is totally acceptable for municipalities and organizations like the Solid Waste District to use that information. However, Justin did suggest that we have a confidentiality agreement with, between the city and Carroll County Solid Waste, stating explicitly that the information would only be used for billing. So I did draft a confidentiality agreement, which they signed, so I can read it to you. City of Holiday Island, Arkansas, and Carroll County Solid Waste District confidentiality agreement pursuant to the interlocal agreement for solid waste hauling between the City of Holiday Island and Carroll County Solid Waste District. Both parties agree to keep the water meter customer information provided for the purposes of establishing customer billing for trash collection confidential and to be used exclusively for the purpose of contacting and billing those customers. So we have that taken care of. Okay. I think we're to the end of the agenda and we don't have any public left for comments. Council member comments? Scheduling?
Any news on the, are we waiting for the quorum court to meet next month to approve
The sheriff's contract? Yeah, I talked to Chuck Olson earlier this week and he said they did not have it on the agenda for this month's meeting. So I need to talk to Sheriff Ross and make sure that it gets on the agenda the next time around.
That's the only other thing, that's all we got hanging yet, right?
I think so. Well, district court zoning and HR handbook.
In that regard, we currently have a sheriff, county sheriff, or deputy, or corporal patrolling our streets. Aren't our laws or our ordinances we pass enforceable with that authority? Or do we have to have a contract that names the two before they'll do that?
We have to have a contract with the city.
It's explicitly in, I think we need to have, the city needs to have the contract with the sheriff's department.
Okay.
We can start doing that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, otherwise you get, I mean, there's no connection.
Yeah. Okay. Right, next regular meeting, I think we decided that in the last meeting.
Yeah, we did that, 18th or 17th?
17.
I don't plan on having any other
I don't
special
know any
meetings or
more meetings.
workshops. Any announcements? Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Ken made a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Linda seconded it, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Should have taken my blood pressure medicine this morning.
I didn't think we could talk,
Sheriff?